During the 80s and 90s, it was really hard to imagine like what life would be like today. And the reason why I say that is during the 60s, Japan made every attempt to break into the Western market. Like they Speed Racer, for example, and then of course that was followed on by shows like Robotech, and even like the really odd things like Captain Harlock or Dominion Tank Police, or even like some of the more recent stuff like Fusigi Yugi. It's like all this stuff was companies that were in America bringing Japanese products to America to try to open up the American market. And that's why a lot of people growing up were teased, bullied, and were just pretty much ridiculed for liking anime. Because liking stuff like this, Dominion Tank Police, for example, wasn't mainstream. It wasn't. It was just viewed as cartoon stuff for kids. And of course, our parents looked at it like that, and that's how our co-peers looked at it. And what was really interesting about it was that you had stuff like manga that was available in the in stores like Borders or Barnes and Nobles or comic book shops, and a lot of these books were the wrong facing side. For example, so English language books are read from, well, most Western are read from left to right. Japanese books were read from right to left. And because of these weird differences, a lot of people were ridiculed because people looked at anime as kids' cartoons. They also looked at manga as like American comic books, like kids' books, in a sense. So it wasn't until later we had like breakout shows like Dragon Ball Z, pretty much started breaking records on Toonami, and we also had games like Final Fantasy, which were imported from Japan that started to like sell an insane amount of copies. So what ended up happening during that time frame was that American media dominated the global market for years. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about like movies or TV shows or anything like that. I just mean like American properties. So stuff like He-Man, Master of the Universe, or Ninja Turtles, for example. Ninja Turtles was a global powerhouse. It sold well in Japan, as well in Asia, Europe, the U.S., that kind of thing. So because of this, we were doing what Japan is doing now. We were exporting our products. Now, obviously, that's not the case anymore because companies started to try to abuse it and things started going under. And of course, a lot of legacy media like He Man, Ninja Turtles, and all that started to slowly go under. But a lot of people don't know that at the time when we were exporting stuff during the 80s and 90s, we weren't keeping up with demand. And because we weren't keeping up with demand, a lot of these Japanese companies were being contracted to make some of our media to fill the gaps. For example, the Ninja Turtles anime. The Ninja Turtles anime, as you see right here, it is actually two OVAs, which is original video animations or mini movies. And OVAs are normally anywhere between 30 minutes to like an hour. And that was the standard back in the 80s and 90s before Evangelion, was that you would make an OVA instead of like a regular sized episode because you would get a higher budget because it's a movie and it's like you can try to like get more people to watch it and all this kind of stuff. So OVAs were very common during the 80s and 90s, whereas nowadays they're not nearly as common because of whatever. You have some random companies like Bandai doing OVAs for like Gundam and some of the big stuff, but for the most part, OVAs were like actual like mini movies. So this came out during the 90s when Ninja Turtles was still popular in Japan, but it was starting to fade in the US, and we didn't have enough material for them. So they ended up making this cartoon. And what was really cool about it was two OVAs. It was two original stories. They were based on some of the later toys that never got any publication or history in the US. And Japan actually ended up making new stories for this, and they also helped co-make some of the toys. So, for example, one of the toys is based on the property of Saint Seiya. That is a 70s anime where they wore like mystical armor and they all fought in tournaments and all that kind of stuff. Great show. If you're from South America, you know it. If you're from North America, you do not. Because we tried to brand it as Knights of the Zodiac, and it didn't do well at all here. Because we butchered the dub and everything. But in South America, they kept the original story, the original concepts. And they went through all of the series. So you can actually find the entire series in Mexico, for example. But not in the US. But phenomenal series. So that got a Ninja Turtle makeover. And they also did a Ninja Turtle makeover for like a Saint Seiya, which is a Japanese term for like Power Rangers, for example. So one OVA is Knights of the Zodiac, and the other OVA is like Power Rangers. And it's a really good show. It's corny because a lot of Japanese anime adaptations were like comedy, but it's a pretty good find if you ever want to look at it. You can find the episodes on YouTube. Another one I want to talk about is that Beast Wars, Transformers. So Beast Wars was extremely good during the 90s. It saved the Transformers franchise. Period. Really good story, really good ending, amazing everything. Well, when we brought it to Japan, they did season 1, and then season 2 wasn't done yet. So there was a giant pause between them. Just long enough to where Japan started to make animes. We got Beast War animes over here. Now, what's really cool about it is that it's an original story. Takara, who co-owns Transformers, they were able to make brand new toys for it. So the Beast Wars toy line isn't just American. It's both because of that. And of course, we started bringing some of the toys to the US way later on. But it's a really good show. And it's all because we couldn't keep up with demand. And Japan was like, no, we're not going to let this flame die. We're going to capitalize on it. And they made 2 animes. They made Beast Wars 2 and they made Beast Wars Neo. Now, definitely check out some of these American animes in a sense, because these shows are phenomenal. And it's really interesting to see an American show get the anime and the manga treatment, because of course they had mangas. And it's really cool to see an American property become a Japanese property. And what's crazy is we never got these. You cannot find the Ninja Turtles anime in the US, and you cannot find the Beast Wars animes in the US, because Hasbro and Mirage and all of the companies involved didn't feel like we deserved it in a sense. So we never got these imported. But of course you can find them on YouTube. They're available on YouTube. But they're not the only ones that got that treatment. So if you're ever curious about it, definitely look up some of these old shows and see if you can find some animes for them. And let me know what you got and you can find in the comments. Alright, buddy. HColus1 Gaming here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with some more random goodness and hopefully you can enjoy. Peace.